Ajenkwanwu muna mikira se minyankopon meni erade dawusuo woni me shefuti shiri yami mitia sidie minsuro erade minsuro kura And now all my best, yeah. Kopim sa me by era defie me di why me fear why am I fine why am I jack enti me yeah brera defie no be on fine for the Lord in this place.
I'll take you through that. For some time, it was observed that governing bodies such as councils and boards were not functioning properly because of the following reasons. One, weak interface between political office holders and public servants in the day-to-day administration of the institutions. So at a point, the boards and the governing the councils were not allowed to do what they were supposed to do, but rather there were much interferences which led to the breakdown of governance in the school, and therefore leading to poor governance. Another reason is due to lack of adherence to policy and laws. There have been instances where the powers that be will twist the arms of boards and councils and management to do things which are contrary to the laws. And that leads to poor or weak management. Sometimes even appointment of council or board members, they do not refer to the manual and the statutes in order to get the right caliber of people to serve on the councils and the boards. And so they end up taking decisions that do not help. In this discussion, we are looking at revisiting Presbyterian discipline. We are looking at revisiting Presbyterian discipline, which means whatever decisions or policies that the boards and the councils will come out with, they should have at the back of their mind that the Presbyterian discipline is core, and therefore they cannot leave it out. Board or council members are changed anytime there's a new government. This also affects our institution. Sometimes you have a very good board or council, but because of change of government, their tenure of office is truncated. And then they bring in a new council or board which is not able to handle things the way it should, and then it affects the management of the institution. Unhealthy board or council management relationships. This is also very important. Sometimes you have challenges between the board chair and the head of institution, challenges between board members and management members, and therefore affecting and undermining the authority of the head of institution. So this is also one of the causes of poor management and of poor corporate governance. So quickly we'll look at the governance structure at the tertiary or the university level, college of education level, and then at the SHS, senior high school level. At the university or college of education level, they have the governing council. And the statutes will dictate who and who should serve on the council. Below the council, we have the management, the university management or the college management. Under the management, we have employees who form unions. Then we have student leadership and then the student body. So that is at the university level. At the senior high school level, we have the governing board or the board of governors. Then we have the school management. We have employees who also have teaching and non-teaching unions. Then we have student leadership, and we have the student body. So now, what is the role of internal audit in all these? We will look at the role vis-a-vis the functions of the board and management. But in short, internal auditors, all that we are supposed to do is to assess the entire organization, the processes and the procedures, how they do things, how they take decisions, and how the whole organization is run. And then we recommend, if there are weaknesses, ways that they can strengthen the the controls to achieve the goal. So one accountant called Van Poissem, 2004, highlighted what internal audit functions are. I put them into two: assurance function and consulting roles. Assurance function and consulting roles. So in the first place, we have stakeholders like the government, represented by the Ministry of Education. We have Presbyterian Church of Ghana, which has 8 schools. We have parents who are taxpayers. We have the citizenry. They all demand accountability. So what internal auditors will do within the organization is to assess the activities that go on in the management of the institution, the running of the institution, and they will report to the stakeholders whether their money is being put to good use, the resources entrusted into your care have been put into good use, and will achieve the objective of entrusting the resources or otherwise. So the next thing is consulting role. As an internal auditor, any headmaster has a right to call you if he doesn't understand anything, because you are going to use laws, directives, circulars, and other things. So in any situation where a head or any employee has any challenge, he can call you as an internal auditor to seek your advice, and that is the consulting role. But the assurance role is where you go to audit the system, come out with observations, and then, I don't want to use the word report, but then advise stakeholders as to what they should do. So I have mentioned the major stakeholders: government, PCG, donors, taxpayers, etc. So when we go to audit, one of the areas that we should look at is whether the governing council or the governing board has been constituted according to the law, which is the statute or the Board of Governors manual. Because if the composition is wrong, then their decisions will also not be valid, because you have already violated the law. So that is one of the ways that we enhance the role of boards. So we will advise, we'll point out that this so and so were supposed to be on the council, they are not there. And so your council is not complete, your board is not complete. Or you have brought people who are not supposed to serve on the council and they are on it. And so if anybody takes you to court, your council cannot survive. Another thing that we'll advise will be policies that the council will come out for management to implement. So we'll review the policies that are being implemented. Now we are in free SHS. So a council cannot go and bring a policy saying that every student should pay a certain amount. That policy cannot stand. So as internal auditors, we will review the policy being implemented, and then we'll recommend whether it is in compliance with the law or is breaching the law. We look at decisions of boards and councils. There was a time when we went to audit a school, and the board chairman of a senior high school had entered into contract with a bank to put up their structure on the school land and to pay some money to the school monthly. When we challenged him, he said no, it was his right because he was the board chairman. But we pointed out to him that as board chairman, you are not an employee of the Ghana Education Service. And we cannot hold you responsible for any action that you take in the school because the school is not under your care. You are supposed to formulate policies, and then the management of the school will implement. But if you are the one implementing, entering into contract, if you breach the contract, how do we hold you responsible? Because we don't pay you. So these things internal auditors are supposed to do to help boards and councils. As internal auditors, we need to draw boards and councils' attention to the fact that they are also accountable because they were appointed by authorities. And the authorities that appointed them will hold them accountable for their actions and inactions. So it is not a matter of just attending meetings and taking decisions. Your decisions should be referred to the appointing authority. For example, Presbyterian Church of Ghana is saying, we are revisiting Presbyterian discipline. How do you factor this into your policy as a college or a senior high school? So, as a board, the things that we're doing earlier, we can't go and do the same thing because we are not thinking about Presbyterian discipline. And formulating policy on Presbyterian discipline, we should also look at what will the law allow us and what will the law not allow us. So those days when Presbyterian school, you go, you are late, and they will lash you. This time, the policy cannot include caning. So boards and councils will need to consider the current situation, the political terrain, and all the factors before they come out with a policy. As internal auditors, we will also have to report on principles of good governance, such as rule of law. Now, people are wide awake. People are exposed. So, you can't just take decision on somebody and think that the person will end it there. So that's why in GES, most of the time, employees and other people take us to court and we are in trouble. Because as a director or a headmaster, you don't have the mandate to dismiss anybody. And even if the person doesn't come to school, the only thing you can do is to stop the salary and report. But you don't write a letter dismissing the person. And so whatever you are doing, if you take the senior high schools, you have the 1992 Constitution of Ghana, you have the Public Financial Management Act 2016, Act 921. You have the Public Procurement Act 2003, Act 663. You have the Public Financial Management Regulations 2019, LI 2378. We have Internal Audit Agency Act 2003, Act 658, Audit Service Act 2000, Act 684, and a lot for you to look at. So if you take any action which is outside the laws that are governing your operations, you should know that somebody can take you to court. And as internal auditors, sometimes will refer you to the law and say, you have acted contrary to this law. And that's how we can, if it's even the board, at the board decision, at the council's decision, if your decision breaches any law, in our report, we will draw your attention to that so that you look at how you can reverse it. As board and councils and management, one of the key principles expected of good governance is transparency. So if you are a board member, if you are a council member, if you are a head of institution, all your actions should be transparent. So on the board, it should not be that one person is hijacking transactions and even entering into what management is supposed to do. For example, when it comes to procurement, one does not expect that a board member, you would rather be a supplier to the school. If you do that, it means you are acting in conflict. That is conflict of interest. Why do you want to supply to the school when you are the one formulating policy for the management to implement? And the head, how does he refuse your quotation, even if they are over and above the market price? And so these are some of the things that board members will have to be careful that you don't walk on the corridor of conflict of interest. And if you do, we will draw attention. In the same way, as head of institution, one does not expect that you become a supplier to the school, as it used to be. Some heads used to do that. As Presbyterian heads, I know you are disciplined, so you will not do that. But if something like that happens, internal auditors, our role is to draw attention to the infraction. So I've spoken about conflict of interest. In our 1992 Constitution, Article 284 says, a public officer shall not put himself in a position where his personal interest conflicts or is likely to conflict with the performance of the functions of his office. So, the decision is yours. What you are doing as against the organization, are you benefiting instead of the organization? But there have been a lot of conflict of interest which have passed, which have taken us to internal public accounts committee that you yourself will know. There were instances where some heads were leaving, they were retiring, and they entered into contract and procured foodstuffs and other things on credit and left them for us to pay. In some cases, the items were not even delivered, but they were recorded as if they were received, and they became liabilities to the school. As council members, board members, and heads of institutions, your integrity is key. And I heard Papa Moderator talking about integrity. And everything that you are doing should be such that somebody who is watching you from behind will say, oh yes, the person has the organization at heart, and the person is acting in transparency, and everything is to achieve the organizational goals. But now, we go to sign performance contracts. We are giving resources, but before the resources even arrive, we are thinking of what we will gain from it. I know that is not happening in Presbyterian schools because Presbyterian schools don't normally go to Public Accounts Committee. The few that go is because of abandoned projects, unsubstantiated payments and those things. But the major ones which have to do with misappropriation, we don't normally find them. I congratulate you on that, and I pray that you keep it up. The key expectation of stakeholders is efficiency and effectiveness. We know that efficiency has to do with utilization of resources, time and material and other resources, infrastructure, human, money, and all that. What is the best way that you can procure this item at the lowest price for it to serve the same purpose for which you are procuring? It's unfortunate that our laws these days are putting constraints in our way. I know. Somebody who is in a town where you don't have registered, VAT-registered suppliers, and the law requires that you should procure from VAT-registered supplier. And so you have to travel. The cost of traveling from your town to the city to go and procure from the VAT-registered supplier will be even more than the cost of the product in your town. But that is what the law has imposed on you. So there's nothing. So many headmasters come and they are complaining. Now I say the money is not your money. The one who is giving you the money says, do it so that the price will go up. So do it and have your freedom. If you don't do it, you'll be cited for infractions. But the important thing is you considering your circumstance. What is the best price that you can get for the item? What is the best cost that you can get for the activity you're implementing? As for effectiveness, it is achieving the results. It doesn't consider the cost. So if one ream of A4, you want to conduct exam, and you go to buy one ream at 500 Ghana cedis, and you're able to conduct the exam, you have achieved effectiveness within the time frame. But then efficiency will suffer. And that's where our integrity comes to play. As board members, council members, and chief executives who are heads of institutions, we expect that you attend board meetings always. Because decisions that are taken there are very, very key for the running of the institution. So a situation where a lot of board members or council members decide to absent themselves and a few people take decisions for the institution, it might not inure to the benefit of the institution. Social accountability. As board members, as council members, as school management, do we consider the society within which we are operating? So our activities, our actions and inactions, do we even tend to find out how that is hurting the rise of some people? How that is hurting the community within which we are operating? What are the laws that we are, the policies that we are coming? What are the actions that management is taking? And so I wrote something down there. Galamsey and school land encroachment. What will the board or council do? Because it has now become a national issue. So if you are there and they come into your school and they are operating, what do you do? You may say you want to go to the security services. But what if you are not close to them? When it comes to land encroachment, the person is holding valid papers from whatever authority and is supposed to build. And he's building. He has demolished part of your wall. What do you do? So these are issues that as boards and councils, you need to think about and then come out with policies and decisions that will support management to run the institutions. Because we are in an era where, because the school lands were acquired several years ago, and that time the land was far away from town. Now the land has come into the middle of the town, and people need land for development. There's gold or something in your land, people want to mine. What do we do? So I wrote it in red, galamsey and encroachment. As board of governors or council members, as management, we will also review to see whether there's a code that is regulating your conduct and your activities. Because if you don't have code as board, as management, then I don't know how you formulate a code for your employees and your students. So you're supposed to have a code of conduct that will determine how board members will behave and act, how management members will behave and act, how employees will behave and act, how students will behave and act in the institution. We will also try to see and check whether board members act independently. There have been several cases where if the chief executive or the head of the institution is more powerful than the chairman of the board or the council. Because it looks like everything he says is what goes. So I had opportunity of serving on one council where the head of the institution was leaving. And he recommended a junior staff to be the vice principal and then to take over when he has retired. And this created a problem. One expected that the council would have said no. The statutes will not allow that. Let's do the right thing, even though that was his favorite. And so we will we will also consider independence or decisions that you are taking. In the case of this staff, who was a junior staff, who didn't have the qualification to become a vice and was made a vice, we will recommend that something should be done about it. At the end of the year, we expect that the board or the council will evaluate whatever has gone on throughout the year. The board or the council will identify weaknesses in the system. We'll expect that the board or the council will think about the causes of these weaknesses and then will come out with some recommendations to address the weaknesses. So as auditors, when we have looked at all these things and we have identified weaknesses in the system, we make recommendations. So for board, councils, and management, we normally recommend that, depending on the weaknesses so identified, there should be capacity building for council members, for board members, and for management members. We have different backgrounds of the board members. Somebody might not have financial background. Somebody might not have administrative background and the rest. So in order to bring them a bit closer, take them through some capacity building, let them appreciate financial statement and what is in there. They will not understand everything, but at least they'll have the basic understanding. We recommend that management should institute strong internal controls. And in GES, our documentation, the receipts you issue when you receive money, the payment voucher you raise when you are making payments, the stores receipt voucher that a storekeeper issues out when items are delivered to the store. The stores issue voucher, which is signed by the matron or whoever is going to take items and approved by you. These are all controls put in place such that one person does not take advantage of the system. If there are weaknesses where you can tell somebody to walk to the store and go and take item and then later you document, then we'll recommend that you don't do it because in future it can create problems for you. We also recommend intensified supervision. Our major problem, I don't know, at the university level, I have not audited there, so I don't have much idea. But I know that the weaknesses cut across. People delegate, they don't supervise. But as heads of institutions, as chairman of boards and councils, when you delegate authority, responsibility still rests with you. So when you delegate and you don't supervise,